What's up, everyone? I thought I'd do a quick prediction video because every once in a while my guides speak to me about world events. And I was thinking about the coronavirus. Hopefully, I don't get reported by this, but I have a feeling that we are on the cusp of World War III. Um, And a lot of that is uh, attributed to the plague, I'm going to call it the plague. I think it may have been intentionally unleashed in China for the purpose of one reason. Now, Russia and China have always been like this throughout history. I mean, they are longtime blood brothers. They see things the same. They have the same political systems and just about every step of the way throughout history. They've always been, best buds, They've been blood brothers. They've been through it all together. And so they've always worked with each other. Um, during mass world wars. Well, what I'm trying to say is that I think what the crown bug, I think some people are calling it, but I'll call it the plague, anyways. That the plague is was intentionally unleashed for the purpose to test the security and medical capabilities of the United States and whether the United States was strong enough and stable enough to be able to handle such a catastrophe. Now, I know it's a very controversial view, but I think that it is something that we need to consider because when I channel my guides, they're telling me, that there is a war brewing, and with the current events being as they are, and everyone's saying that Donald Trump, our president, is a racist. I think he's mostly alluding to the fact that there is some kind of new world war brewing, and that in effect, the United States is in a position where we are very vulnerable, both medically and through security and militaristically against these bigger superpowers. Russia and China and the United States during World War II were considered the major superpowers. And so it was on to the United States at this time where we are finding that we are no longer the superpower, that our clout and influence in the world is not as strong as it once was, that we do not have the resources to continue to take on uh, major issues that are going to affect our country. Now, I don't call I don't call the um, coronavirus the Chinese virus or the European virus or anything to that extent. In fact, I call it the biblical plague because it was something that's I mean there's in the like I said, my favorite book of the Bible is Revelations, and I think that being said, that there are like seven different plagues within the Bible, um, in chapter 16, which talks about certain things happening. And even in the four horse of the apocalypse, we see that there is this kind of, I would say, foretelling of the future that is occurring as of right now. Um, in Revelations, well, if we look at from the start, we see that in Revelation 6 through 1 through 12, where it says, Then I saw when the Lamb broke one of the seven seals, and I heard one of the four living creatures saying, as with a voice of thunder, Come, I looked, and behold, a white horse, and he who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he was out conquering and to conquer. Oftentimes, that is viewed as dealing with things as a major pandemic or infectious disease that could take over the world. That's what it's been viewed as throughout history. But as a result of that pandemic, as the first, when the Lamb opens the first seal, when it opens, releases the virus throughout the world, then what is to follow is the red horse, which is Revelation 6 3 through 4, when it states that when he broke the second seal, I heard the second living creature saying, Come, and another, and a red horse went out, and to him, he who sat on it, it was granted to take peace from the earth, and that men would slay one another, and that a great sword was given to him. So I think we're approximately at that point where the red horse is about to emerge, that a war is beginning to brew and start throughout the world, and possibly a world war. Um, because, you know, right now there are major superpowers, there are major superpowers in the world who are taking advantage of the United States' weakness right now and our vulnerability. Because America has always been viewed in the Bible as being the new Babylon. And so, because of that, we can see through Revelation 6 3 through 4 with the red horse that war is the potentiality of being set and started as of this time. So the Third World War. Now, with those empire divisions, then we come onto the black horse, which is the third horse of the apocalypse, and that's Revelation 6 5 through 6. When he broke the third seal, I heard the third living creature saying, Come. I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard something like a voice in the center of the four living creatures saying, A quart of wheat for a denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, but do not damage the oil and the wine. Now, when we look at that, we notice as of right now, there are food shortages happening in the United States. I don't know throughout the world if there's food shortages, because I haven't really heard too much of people having food shortages. But in the United States, I know there is some food shortages going on. a lot of that deals with the plague and how it is affecting workers in certain plants like butcher plants. So meats have been becoming a rare commodity in the United States that we are no longer able to go to our stores and pick freely like we did in the land of milk and honey. That um, now, when you go to the store, you see a lot of bare shelves, which is kind of odd for the United States because in the United States, you pretty much, if you want a pie, you don't get a slice of the pie. You get the whole fucking pie if you want it, you know? All you have to do is pay out how much, whatever you want, and you can get that pie. So I'm starting to see, and my guides are telling me that this is kind of like the foretelling or what is being foretold of the future as of right now, that this is what we can expect in the coming months, that there might be some major food shortages going on in the world. Now, when we go on to the pale horse, which is the fourth horse and the last horse, and it says Revelation 6, 7 through 8, it states, when the Lamb broke the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature say, come. I looked, and behold, an ashen horse, and he who sat on it had the name of Death, and Hades was following with him. Authority was given to them over a fourth of the earth to kill with sword and with famine and with pestilence and by the wild beasts of the earth. And so I think as the finale goes in Revelation 6, 7 through 8, that we can see that there is the death, the pale horse coming. I think, although, you know, America has always been a place where the dead have been respected to some degree, now we are starting to see that that they're not. That there is a lot of death, and we are unprepared to handle that death, and there are mass burial pits that are happening as we speak for unclaimed bodies, but that doesn't say that it will not continue along in the future, that after all that is said and done, after war has taken place, and um, after the plague is after the plague settles down, although it might reemerge, that we're ill handled for that, and that leaves America vulnerable for uh, the red horse to the seal to be broken open for the red horse, so that empires can attack the United States, and that the black horse will emerge in the third seal, in which there will be famine, mass famine throughout the world, possibly primarily in the United States, where we're already seeing this taking place. So it's like a foreshadowing that, of our future, that we're in a position where that maybe we don't have the capabilities and capacity to handle such an enormous threat or destruction to our systems and our resources, and that eventually that the United States might fall into the fourth horse of the pale horse being death, where there might be, even including our allies in this, that they might suffer as much as the United States during this time. So that is my view on how what is foreshadowed and leading up to um, the possibility of the United States being vulnerable, our allies being vulnerable, because if the United States falls, so do many other countries. Because the United States sets the precedence throughout the world. We're the leaders. We're the ones that show the world how things are done. We are the experiment of the world. We're the ones that the world depends on to be like. We are the emulation of how other countries want to be like, for the sake that we have everything. We are supposed to have everything we need. We're supposed to be the strongest. We're supposed to be the most powerful. And that may no longer be the case. And that's something to really consider at this point. So, what my guides are telling me is that we're on the cusp of World War III, and the crown bug, or the plague, is uh, something that is really testing our safety, security, and stability in this country, and the resources that we have to handle such a catastrophe. Our medical systems are just shot. I'm not gonna lie. They can't handle it. They're telling people they can't handle it. They're telling the public every everything, but and I think at this time, how I feel about Donald Trump is that I feel like he's kind of washing his hands of everything right now. I don't think Obama created a mess for him. I think what happened was it's something that's been long in the making. It didn't happen in a matter of 8 years of Obama. I think it's been something that's been happening over time, starting from the Second World War up until now. So, if not longer, and we kind of swept it under the rug in America. We never acknowledged what everybody was telling us to do and how to do it better. And now we're suffering the consequences of our actions. It's kind of like what goes around comes around, or you reap what you sow, or you should have known that before it happened. You should have been proactive instead of reactive. And so I think what happened with Trump is that he inherited many, many years and generations of bad decision making and just, yeah, bad decision making by our leadership. And it has led to this mess. And although he wants to point the finger, it's something the rest of the world has been sitting on for a long time. It's like Russia and China and the Middle Eastern countries and parts of Europe and definitely parts of Africa and South America and Central America. They just they're just waiting for Babylon to fall. And the time seemed right. It's like it's like this. The bully bullied everyone in the classroom. He bullied everyone in the classroom. and the bully is the United States. And everyone was just like, okay, we'll whatever you want, you know, the bully takes the cake on this one. And then now the bully is forced into a corner because the whole class is bullying him and he doesn't know what to do and he has no allies or defenses. And so the entire classroom is attacking him and he's shit out of luck. So that's my prediction, my world prediction. So Manji, and you guys have a good night. Bye.